Hey guys and gals, Mike Cricket 113 here. Hope everybody's enjoying the weekend. I just want to talk about CB radio, 11 meter radio. And if you're new to the hobby, or maybe you're just bought a radio and looking for an antenna, maybe a mag mount for your car, or want to set up a base at the house, what to expect? You know, if you just buy the radio, get yourself a 10 amp power supply. If you're going to set up at home, some coax, maybe some RG8X or RG213 will be even better. Whatever you can afford, mind you. Get yourself an Antron 99 or maybe get a 102 whip and make yourself some radials and use that on a mast or put something on your chimney or whatever. You know, that's what's so great about this hobby. That's what's so great about the hobby is you could do a lot of things, and it doesn't have to be a lot to get on the air. Or maybe you bought obviously we all bought mobile radios here, and that's what this President McKinley here is. Or maybe you put it in your vehicle, your truck or your Jeep or your car, and you get yourself a mag mount antenna or maybe a lip mount if you have a special place you want to put the antenna, 102 whip or fire stick, whatever works for you, whatever's within your budget. But what to expect from it, just the radio, just the radio and the antenna. The best thing you can do, okay, is whether you're setting up for your vehicle or you're setting up for at home with a base station, especially if you live in a rural community where, the cell phone coverage isn't the best, and who the hell has a landline nowadays, is to spend that money on the antenna. And getting that antenna as high as you can, whether you be pulling one up a tree with some rope or putting it on the house, on your chimney with the straps and a 10-foot pole, or maybe doing a couple top rails and attaching that to the side of the house. Whatever you feel fit, whatever works. But height is might on the antenna, and as well with the mobile. If you do a mag mount, even if you have a truck, you can get a Striker SRA 10, or a Wilson 1000, or even a Wilson 5000, not 5000, 500. Nobody needs a 5000 unless you're running a kilowatt in the car. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about just the radio, the coax, the antenna, whether it be a base station antenna or a something you put on your vehicle. What to expect out of it. Now, CB radio, it was, it started out in the 50s, I think. It started out in the 1950s and 60s. It became popular in the 70s, which is great. Was the craze, And it's good. It's good in the mobile. And I think that's the best place you're going to get some enjoyment out of it, is have it in your vehicle while you're driving to and from work, in and around town. And that's where it works well. Your 4 watts on AM, not that we're going to transmit there, your 4 watts on AM, is going to be good for the mobile. 4 watts, yeah, you're going to say, it's not a lot of power. I want to talk all over the place and blah, 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 blah. Yeah, people do that. People do their thing, and I respect that. But just bare bones, 4 watts on AM and FM in the mobile, got a good antenna set up on the car, center mounted, whether it be in on your truck, right near your bed, or your back bed window or whatever, or center of the car, center of the roof, a good antenna. You're going to be able to talk a while, especially, it all depends on conditions, mind you. If you're on top of a mountainside, yeah, you're going to talk 30 miles, 40 miles, 50 miles. Shit. Line of sight, it's height is might, If you live in a prairie, kind of like Kansas kind of area, yeah, you're going to talk pretty far because it's all open and no obstructions. Remember, obstructions are going to be hills and valleys. If you're down the valley and you got hills around you, you're going to be able to talk in that valley, no problem. But getting out of that valley is going to be a little hard. Houses, tall buildings, trees, even when the leaves are on the trees, it could get a little more difficult. It's interesting. But with 11 meter, which is HF, depending on conditions, solar conditions, how many sunspots are on the sun, yes, your signal, even 4 watts on AM, which I have a video and I'll tag into this description of me working people around the country on 4 watts, because your signal goes out in all directions, hits the ionosphere, and bounces off the ionosphere and the ground and the ocean and so on and so forth. So yes, you can. If you're all worried, if you're all ready about, oh, I gotta talk DX, all this stuff, skip all that crap. Yeah, it could work. It could work on AM with 4 watts. It depends on the solar conditions. Pay attention to those. Look up the conditions of the sun. See what the K index is that day. See what the sunspot number is that day. The solar flux index. Pay attention to those solar weather things. You can look that up on NOAA.gov space weather. Easy to get to. But anyway, yeah, CB will work. It will work. It's great if you have friends that live close by, and you want to chat every night or in a day or whatever. And, they're anywhere between, 3 and 10 miles away. Then, yes, 4 watts is going to be all right. Height is might on the antenna. Remember that. Single sideband, this radio particularly came out, 2016 or something like that. President McKinley, it's an AM and sideband radio. So it has amplitude modulation, upper and lower sideband. Sideband allows you legally to have 12 watts, which basically, I should have drew a picture. Let's see here. But anyway, it gives you 12 watts of power. You're basically, I'm going to put it this way. We're going to break this down with these numbers here. All right, we're going to do, the middle is the carrier between the 3 and the 8. The 3 is the upper sideband, and the 8 is the lower sideband. So when you're on sideband, most people in this country here in America, we use lower sideband. You're basically just using the 8, and the carrier's gone, and the upper sideband's gone. So what does that mean? What does that mean? I know that's a bad graph. That means basically on AM, we're just talking about the 38. You got the upper sideband, the middle is the carrier, the space in between, and the 8 would be the lower sideband. So that's 6 kilohertz of width, of bandwidth that you're putting out there every time you key up the mic and say break, when you take that carrier away and the upper sideband, when you're on lower, you're just putting 3 kilowatts. Now not 3 kilowatts, Jesus. 3 hertz wide. So yeah, there we go. We'll figure this out, right? This all makes sense, not. But anyway, so you have a narrower bandwidth than you would on AM. So your signal goes farther, so you have more power. It's basically that 4 watts times 3 is 4 times 3 is 12, as we know. And so you're basically having more power, and you have a narrower bandwidth, and your signal goes further. That's why with sideband, people enjoy sideband. Think of, what's his name? Mower Junkie, man. He loves sideband. The man lives on it. 151. Yeah, he loves sideband. I love sideband. It's a great form of communication. I live in a hilly valley area, and I was in my mobile with this radio on sideband on channel 24, because we use that to get away from all the other stuff out there. And I was driving to a campsite, and my buddy was at his base. He was 600 feet up using an IMAX 2000. I was 25, 30 miles away, and we were talking the whole time I was driving there. And yes, there were times when he had a hard time hearing me, depending on what was in the way. But when I got up to about 900 feet elevation, we were 30, 35 miles away from each other, talking like we were in each other's backyard. You know what I mean? So sideband is really good, and that was just bare bones radio. My SWR was great. And that's very important, your standing wave ratio. That will tell you whether you're, let me put this in AM, how much power is going out the coax and how much is reflected back. The measurement is what is being reflected back, because all energy that goes out the antenna is electromagnetic energy. It comes back as heat. And if your antenna system and your coax is not matched with the radio at 50 ohms, then you're going to have a higher SWR. Well, SWR is anywhere between one, 0, obviously, 1.0 to 1, all the way up to 4 and into infinity. With CB radio, if your SWR is 1.5, 1.5, that's fine. That's fine. Your reflective power is only going to be a half a watt or so, maybe a watt. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about it. Yes, you want to get a great match, and sometimes all it takes is moving your coax around in the vehicle or in the or outside. Just moving around a little bit. It might change things up for you. Yeah, so reflective power, SWR, trying to optimize your radio system. That's the whole point. So you can do it with just 4 watts or 12 watts on sideband and 4 watts on AM and FM. And don't discount FM. I know it's a new mode to people, and for the old heads, they they've been using amateur radio rigs, 10-meter rigs, for a long time now, and they're used to FM. And they've tried it back in the 80s and all that jazz, and they don't really, from what I gather, they don't really like it. They either like it or they hate it, And I can understand their point, because it's not like AM or sideband where if everybody talked at once, you could still hear the other stations talking while other stations are talking. On FM, you can't really do that. The discriminator in the receiver pretty much only takes the strongest signal. So if you're talking to family members or friends, maybe on the farm, and you're using FM, then that would be a good thing to do. That would be a perfect place to do that, or around town, talking to your bride, talking to your husband, whatever. FM would be perfect for that. Then you don't have to worry about all the AM and sideband coming in, all that skip. That's not going to bother you as much. It'll sound like garbage, and not garbage, but just static or whatever. And FM will be good for that. I know this is a long video. Shit, we're at 12 minutes here. But just wanted to tell you that, it's great. CB radio is great. It's great for the mobile, great for road trips, caravans, going camping, whatever. When you have people jeeping, the Jeep community. That's another video. But yeah, and you can get out there, you can talk, maybe find some locals, find a group, make a group, get some friends on the air as well, Sometimes it's like, oh, I got a CB, I got this antenna up in there. Nobody's out there talking. I can't reach anybody. Well, maybe you should convince one of your buddies that lives close by to get a radio and put an antenna up. Then you guys can share the hobby together, and learn more and experience more. So anyway, this was a long one, and we're at our lucky 13-minute here, so I'm going to call it quits. I doubt anybody's watching till the end. And if you are, please tell me down in the comments. 7373, I hope you enjoy and keep playing with those radios. This is Mike Cricket 113. We're gone.